heroes will look up and shout, "Save us." And I'll whisper, "No."
Okay, so I've seen the new Watchmen trailer about a dozen times now. I was pretty blown away. Um, I've got a couple negative things I'll get to, but since I really liked it, I'm going to focus on the positive first. Um, definitely have more plot in this one. Just gonna kind of look through the trailer here so I don't forget anything. First off, the beginning, that little change in the graphic novel. The first time in the graphic novel, of course, we don't see the comedian's murder from his point of view. It's all in flashback. And one of the changes we already know about is that they're going to actually show us the opening scene of the movie. They're going to show it from Blake's point of view. Um, so when I won't say who it was, when the killer steps in and Blake looks over and says, something like, I guess it was just a matter of time. He doesn't say that in the graphic novel, but it's very appropriate, I think, to sort of set up the mystery of, oh, wait, he knew it was coming. What does that mean? I think that's a really good change, and and he throws him out the window, just like in the graphic novel. And I love Rorschach, of course, picking up the smiley face piece. And they did a good job of setting up the mystery in this one. There's a lot more plot in this trailer than the last one. I mean, I know the answer to the mystery, but the whole, maybe someone's picking off costumed heroes, that whole thing. They did a really good job in the scene, one of my favorite scenes in the graphic novel, where Dan is talking to Rorschach, and he's like, well, maybe it was just a political killing. Thought that was really well done. I like Dan's voice, and although he's younger than I imagined, for sure. I mean, well, I don't have to imagine. Then he looks in the graphic novel, but that's my favorite part about this trailer is they really set up the mystery. That's not. It's not. It's actually only a small part of the larger scheme of the plot, but it's a nice simple thing to focus on for the trailer. And there's a lot of shots here. Once more, a lot of shots. One of my favorite ones that are actually in the graphic novel, like the big overhead shot at the Blake's funeral. Very beautiful shot. One of my favorites in the graphic novel. I'm happy it's going to be in the movie. I like Dan flipping the smiley face piece into the hole. That's also from the graphic novel. And it's interesting. We see, Laurie says, John thinks there might be nuclear war, and then we see something that appears to be, like a bluish blast, kind of blows up and shatters some things. And this would tend to go with the theory of the whole Doctor Manhattan energy beam thing, which would be a huge change from the book. The ending. We know they've taken out the squid, and previous drafts had Doctor Manhattan getting framed basically, and that was the lie that the person, I won't say who, gets away with, and so this seems to support that. I don't think this is the "I did it 35 minutes ago" moment, that huge climactic moment, because it is during the day. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I wouldn't think they would give something like that away. Maybe I'm wrong. But continuing here, and then they showed a lot of Rorschach when the police invade the house and everything, and he jumps out of the window. It's a really cool scene in the graphic novel. And the biggest negative I get out of this trailer is that they actually refer to themselves as Watchmen. Like Rorschach says, Watchmen, one of us died tonight. And then later, Dan says, Watchmen are over. What do you want us to do about it? Previous drafts made the exact same mistake of thinking that the heroes are not called Watchmen. I guess it could be argued that in the sort of analogy, they're supposed to represent the Watchmen, but it comes from that Latin phrase, "Who watches the Watchmen?" The title Watchmen does not refer to a specific group of people or anything. It refers to that idea, that question that doesn't have an answer. Who watches the Watchmen? Basically, I love the tagline in this trailer. They watch over us, but who watches them? That's obviously one of the hugely important themes in the book, asking where does ultimate power lie? If you have a group of people who are supposed to watch over other people, well, who's going to watch them and make sure they're doing their job? Well, then who's going to watch over them and make sure they're doing their job? And it presents a lot of really thought-provoking questions. But I think actually saying that Watchmen is like the name of some superhero group or something, I think makes it really cheesy. And so that's my biggest issue with this one. I think, once again, it just refers to that question that doesn't have an answer. Who watches the Watchmen? Where does ultimate power really lie? And there's no way to, that's a big part of the book, and I didn't like that. I think it makes that whole thing really cheesy. A lot of lines from the graphic novel. But just about every line in here is from the graphic novel. Let me fast forward a bit here. I want to make sure I don't forget anything. A couple updated visual effects shots that look a lot. Oh, we get to hear Vite speak for the first time. He says, we can save this world, and that's of course the turning point. That scene for his character, and where he, there's that hope they get that moment that's you don't realize is significant until the second time you read it, where Vite looks at the charred piece of map and it says, someone has to save the world, and we get a hint of Vite's accent here, and which sounds fine to me. I always imagined it's kind of a "I'm the smartest man in the world," kind of voice, and so I like it. And I like you can see the comedian in that shot, kind of like, yeah, it sort of thinks it's all a joke, which is exactly how it is in the book. Um, and what else we got here? I got Laura kicking butt again in the prison. What's coming next? I get to see some more complete visual effects shots from Mars, and Doctor Manhattan. We see him talking for the first time. Doctor Manhattan's voice seems like it needs something a little more. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe over the course of the film, his voice that would get tiresome if it had some crazy effect to it, and maybe you wouldn't be able to. I don't know. Maybe there's some. Maybe they just felt like there is. You need to sense like there is some part of him that's still human, because that's a lot. His whole character arc is about him sort of losing his humanity, and his clothing is kind of a representation of that. I'm really happy, and don't take this the wrong way, but that they're going for full frontal nudity in the movie, because Dr. Manhattan, he starts out with a full costume and then slowly starts getting more and more out of touch, and that's when he starts wearing less clothes and finally walks around freaking naked, because it just shows how out of touch he is. He just doesn't care, and I admire the fact that Snyder has the guts to do that, and it's a really important part of the character. But I was very impressed with the animation. So some of the behind the scenes video in Doctor Manhattan, I was not particularly impressed with the visual effects there. This looks great, and you can definitely see Billy Crudup in there and hear his voice. I'm not sure if his voice needs something extra or not. That was kind of my first thought. But maybe that would get tiresome over the course of the film. Um, let's see here. Any other cool shots? Um, Rorschach jumping out of the building. That's a great moment, of course. And I didn't like the music in this one. Like at the very end, at least, I don't like the music as much. I thought it made it a little bit cheesy. Um, what else we got here? I love that kick that the Night Owl gives that guy in the prison. It looks believable. It doesn't look like superpower. It just looks like a guy who's really buff and is trained for this kind of thing. But it's just super enough to be superhero. But obviously, he doesn't. No one. He doesn't really have any powers, so would make sense. And now, of course, you got Doctor Manhattan saying "Leave me alone," which I think is really cool. It looks very real there. It looks very creepy, and in a second he's gonna vanish the entire crowd like he does in the graphic novel. And you can see also that his skin is darker, that Gmate does for the TV, and that's very cool. Very impressed with the animation on Doctor Manhattan. And what else we got here? It's interesting. In the first trailer, when Night Owl screams in the snow, we saw a reflection in his goggles. And we wondered what the heck is that? And we kind of wondered maybe it's just stage lights. It appears it was, because here it looks like they digitally removed it. And at the end, Rorschach says that line again, and I'll whisper no. And which I thought was even more powerful in this trailer. So overall thoughts, I'm not as after the squid. I heard that the squid was coming out. I said I was cautiously pessimistic. I feel a little bit better now after seeing this. I like the look of it as well. They've taken that sort of secondary color world that Watchmen exists in, and it's still giving it that three-dimensional reality it needs. And but this is really cool. I think it'll be interesting to see how people who haven't read the novel respond to this. It gives a little more plot, just a taste of plot. There's so much more to this than what this trailer is showing. But I guess I'm kind of back to where I was a while ago. No, they can't possibly do this book justice. It's an unfilmable book, but they can try. They can get some cool things about it, and so overall, this trailer is encouraging. This is cool. This is really, really cool.